Welcome to the Hopeless Stream, fellow travelers. Are you ready for another playthrough of an Ares magazine game? This time it's the Damocles Mission. So this is a game designed by Gerry Klug for the Ares magazine in 1983. Damocles Mission is the only truly hard sci-fi board game to come in the Ares magazines. And it is a game which riffs off some of the earlier paragraph-driven games, like especially Voyage of the BSM Pandora, of course, that really sort of launched that whole genre, and then also Return of the Stainless Steel Rat, that sort of riffed on the same thing. Damocles Mission has its own take on the paragraph-driven system, and is rather a unique take. It combines it with a modular space exploration game and a whole lot of dice rolling. So this is the kind of stream where sometimes I'll just be rolling dice like a madman and you don't have to really follow along. I will just let you know what happens because there is a lot of die rolling in this game, and that is also one of the critiques that have been leveled against it. But as you'll see, the system is actually quite ingenious, and what is most interesting about this game is the way that it presents us with the core mystery of the game. We are in 1988. The game is set in 1988, 5 years after this game was designed. And an unidentified flying object has been spotted out in space by an amateur astronomer. And in the beginning, it was thought that it was a comet that was flying through space. But then on closer inspection, it was revealed that the comet didn't have a tail, so it couldn't be a comet. And also it changed its trajectory and suddenly moved straight towards Earth. Now, stopping in orbit over Earth, it coordinated itself so it hung over the Galapagos Islands. And it's this sort of big, round-shaped alien artifact. It's a little more than a kilometer in diameter. It's just like a giant ball of tech hanging in the sky, high above the Earth. And all attempts at communicating with it has failed. There is no sign of life other than clearly this thing, whatever it is, has some kind of deliberate movement. Whether it's a drone, which has been programmed to move like this, whether there are actual living species inside it, or whether maybe the whole thing itself is a kind of species, we don't know. And when the game starts, NASA has decided to send a shuttle called the Discovery Shuttle up to this artifact above the Earth and send a small team of astronauts and scientists into it to try to see if they can figure out what the heck is going on. And journalists have already labeled this artifact the Damocles, with reference to the Damocles sword, which is set to hang in a thin thread over the bed of this legendary person, as a reminder that at any time that fate wills it, the sword may drop and pierce the heart of the person, or in this case, the very heart of human civilization. Now, as the game begins, we have a team of characters in the shuttle. And at the top, we have the two astronauts, Ruiz and Payne. And then we have the engineer, Rakovsky. We have the astronomer, Schuler. We have Baxter, the biologist. And finally, we have Hiller, who is a semanticist. So really someone who works with signs, who might be useful if there is some kind of communication or language that needs to be decoded. And we are carrying various forms of equipment with us into this artifact. And the equipment that we have up here, Ruiz, he just has some basic tools. You have to choose from a pool of items before the game begins, so I just chosen the items that I thought would be most useful. The tools are kind of, the manual way of doing things. So if nothing else works, you can always use the tools to sort of brute force your way through the system or into the system or however it works. Then Payne, he is carrying a Geiger counter. Who knows? Is there radiation up here? Maybe. So I guess it's good to check for radiation. I've heard that you can get really, really sick if you're exposed to a lot of radiation. So maybe carrying a Geiger counter is a good idea. Then we have Rakovsky, the engineer. He has an ohm meter, which means that he can measure electrical activity. Also something that I hope will be useful to try to understand the circuitry of these electrical systems in the artifact. Then we have Schuler. He's an astronomer. I've given him a infrared tool, which means that he can sort of see with infrared vision. Again, considering that maybe there are things about this species that since we have no signs that there are, and we have no radio communication, we haven't seen anyone, we don't know if anyone is in there, that maybe there's something happening on levels that we do not normally see with the human eye. So I thought giving some kind of infrared detection equipment would be a good idea. So I gave that to Schuler, the astronomer. Baxter, the biologist, I've given him a radio because, I don't know, we haven't been able to be in radio communication with the artifact as it hangs up there in the sky. But I'm just wondering, once we get inside, will we be possible to somehow connect with someone inside? Will there be a way of communicating to some completely different ship or planet or something much further away? I don't know. But I did give Baxter, the biologist, the radio equipment. And then finally, Heller, the semanticist, whom Swordvander says is not to be confused with a semantic. Yes, it's very important here to get the terminology correct. Heller, which is kind of in my mind a little bit like the hero, the main character from the science fiction movie Arrival, who again goes to meet these aliens and try to communicate with them, and they are communicating through these sort of weird blotches of, it almost looks like some kind of ink that is being sprayed up, and she's trying to decode the language and communicate with them. So I see Heller as someone like that. So I hope there's going to be a chance for Heller to actually find out some way of communicating with these species, if at all it is a species. I really don't know. And it is one of the most fantastic things about the game is that it doesn't tell you anything. I mean, what I'm telling you now is basically what I know before the game begins. We're gonna be discovering this thing together, guys, and I'm gonna need all your help. And I'm not even promising that we're gonna get an answer at all as to what is going on, because the game is also designed in a way that maybe you need to play it multiple times to slowly, layer by layer, understand what is actually the mystery. So we can imagine that if you play a series of games, it simulates mission after mission going up to this artifact, trying to communicate with it. Whether there is also some kind of fail state where the whole artifact just explodes or attacks or goes home or whatever, I don't know. I have seriously no idea. So I'm really, really excited to see where this journey may lead. And also, it's a hard sci-fi game, so I'm probably not going to understand half of the verbiage in the game. So again, I hope you'll be out there to help me. Swordvander says that it also reminds him of Jodie Foster in Contact. Yeah, absolutely. And Abyss as well. Yeah. This is exactly where we are. Abyss, Contact, Arrival. These are the kind of movies that this game is trying to emulate. Of course, this movie is from '83, which must be before all of those movies, I guess. When is Contact from? I can't remember, but Abyss is from the 90s, I believe. And of course, Arrival is much later. I can't remember when Contact is from. But this is what it's trying to do, and it's really trying to convey a real sense of mystery, not just in terms of what is going on, but also in terms of how the game works. Because you see, as I said, I'll be rolling a lot of dice, which means that things will happen, like access ways will open and close, and we'll just have to deal with it. Now, Swordbender says that Contact is from 97. Okay, yeah, so all of these movies are way later than this game, of course. So it doesn't take inspiration from them, but of course takes inspiration from this sort of basic scenario of man encountering an alien species. But here, not reduced to some kind of weird bug-eyed green slimy monsters, but to an artifact whose logic we do not understand. Swordbender says, Hollywood is so obviously stealing directly from Ares magazine. Yeah, there you have it. Like, I mean, if you want to write that article, stake that claim, go ahead. I am sure that the Damocles Mission has influenced Hollywood in ways that are yet to be revealed. But we are lifting the first page of that book here today on the Hopeless Stream. So, just to show you, here's the magazine, the cover, you can see the artifact, you can see the shuttle Discovery approaching. As the shuttle approaches, it turns out that one of the docking bays just open up, allowing the ship to attach to the artifact, opening the doors, allowing the crew to enter inside. As a kind of gesture, as if someone knows that we are there and is welcoming us inside. But what do they want? Is it a trap? We'll have to find out. And as we look further into the magazine, we have some rules here. It's the usual small font. So I also actually brought a magnifying glass today, the famous Hopeless Stream magnifying glass, which may come in handy at some point. And then most importantly, we have these multiple pages of just paragraphs. This is basically the whole mystery of the game is found within these pages. So those are the ones I'm going to be referring to every time the game tells me to look up a paragraph, and hopefully give us some information so we can try to understand what's actually going on. Because we don't really have a goal in this game. Yeah, there is some kind of victory point system, and screw that. But we are actually just trying to find out what the heck is going on. What is this thing? And we're on a timer. What you see over here to the left is the oxygen that we carry with us. Or rather, it is how much oxygen we have measured in days. We have 34 days to complete this mission. We can stay inside the artifact for 44 days. And every time a day passes, I'm going to remove one of these crystals. First the greens, then the yellows, then the reds. And down here at the bottom, almost invisible on the screen, 4 black crystals. And when the last one is gone, if we're not out of that shuttle, we're dead, guys. So let's try to go in, let's try to discover as much as we can and get out of there with whatever knowledge we have obtained. And let's try to see if we can save this crew and also learn something about the artifact in front of us. Now, what we have down here is the Discovery, and next to it is our team. So this team counter is gonna represent all these 6 people out here as we move into the artifact. What you see here, this tile here, is the first room of the artifact, and you can see it says vision, infrared, and radio, which are the 3 kinds of equipment you can use to try to interact with this room. So we have to imagine that we're walking down these sort of maze-like corridors, which are sometimes dark, sometimes bright. There are instruments and knobs and flashing lights and things that we have no idea what means. We are, of course, in sort of full space suits. There is gravity in here, but it's an artificial gravity, so something is creating that. We're able to move around, but we don't know how to interact with things. So for every room, we can try to use our tools to interact with that specific room or location in a way and see if we can get something from it. And of course, things can go horribly wrong. This is a game from 1983, so I do not expect it to be merciful. And to give you just the very most basic mechanic, which is the one that is tied to the timer over here, is that every time we move down a new access way, which will be laid out, a day passes. This is a huge ship, and it sometimes takes hours and hours to figure out how to open a door or a hatch. So it's really slow progress in there. Also, when I roll the dice, and I will be rolling them a lot, and there'll be a black one and a white one, and the white one will tell us the 10s, and the black one will tell us the 1s. So if I roll a 1 and a 4 like this, it means 14. And every time I roll them, if I roll a double, like a double 6 or double 5, a double whatever, 1 day passes. So it's really a question, you have to roll the dice a lot to make things happen, but if you spend too much time rolling dice on the wrong things, too much time passes and you run out of oxygen. But it's of course also completely luck-based, because I could technically start out rolling 34 doubles, and then that would be the end of the game. Likely that won't happen, but we'll see how we fare. So, we have arrived outside the artifact, and the team is ready to enter. The Discovery is hovering just outside, and as it approaches, it locks into the side of the artifact. 6 people stand at the gates as the doors of the Discovery shuttle opens, and they step into the artifact. Now, only Ruiz and Payne, the 2 astronauts, are actually capable of flying the shuttle. So whatever happens, let's try to get Ruiz and Payne back in safety, because even if we get all the other guys back in safety, we'll have no one to fly the shuttle back to Earth. So it could be a problem. But, you know, we could only bring 6 people, and we needed a lot of scientists. We couldn't just fill it up with astronauts. But Ruiz and Payne, they have to make it back. They really, really have to make it back. So now we can try to encounter this room using vision, infrared, or radio. Vision is basically just looking around. And that is what the semanticists can do. Then we have the infrared, which is what Schuler, the astronomer, can do. And then we have radio, which is what Baxter, our biologist, can do. Now I think we're just stepping into basically the docking bay of the artifact. So I think we're just gonna look around. So I'm gonna try here with Heller to see if she can see anything. And I can keep on rolling the dice now. Show you again here on this one. Out of vision, it says 43. So I need to roll 43 or less in order to succeed in my vision roll. So I'm just going to roll the die like mad and hope I don't roll too many doubles, because that's going to chew away from our time. So 62 is more than 43. 31. So here is a success. The moment there is a success, we flip over the tile, and now it looks like this. And as you can see, there is a success range for vision, which goes from 12 to 43. So we are between 12 and 43, which means that it is a success. So we now go to paragraph 206. And then we get some information or whatever, and then we progress from there. It also has this icon on the tile, which shows that it's a power tile. So it has to do with power systems in the artifact. What that means, we have no clue. And I should also mention that when we are trying to test for these different things, when we're trying to investigate with vision, infrared, Geiger counters, whatever, there is a chance of backfiring. So if you roll horribly, things can go horribly wrong. But without that, of course, it wouldn't be too much fun. So let's see if we learn anything. The chamber ahead is filled with a transparent globe. Inside the globe is a smaller, glowing red sphere, being circled by 7 smaller dark spheres, all revolving on the same plane around the red sphere. If there is an astronomer present, we can go to a new paragraph. And now, of course, we have Helen Schuler, the astronomer with us. So we can actually learn something. And I think here from the description, a transparent globe, and there is a red sphere circled by 7 smaller dark spheres. It does sound like a solar system, right? And maybe even the solar system of where we live, our own solar system. Is that what they are learning something? And who created this? Like, this looks like a complex model of a solar system. But let me not speculate too much. Let's just ask Schuler if she can make any kind of sense of this. So Schuler realizes that we are looking at a miniature solar system, as I said. And she classifies the star as an M7 and determines that only the first planet of the system is able to support a carbon-based form of life. Okay, I have no idea what an M7 is. As I said, this is hard sci-fi. I'm sure there's some kind of lingo here. But anyway, it's a solar system, and it's not our own because it's only the first of the 7 planets that's habitable. So it's still interesting that the number of planets matches the number of planets in our own solar system. So are we looking here at some kind of alien race living in a parallel solar system and looking for something similar to their own to maybe inhabit? Perhaps because they also can only inhabit one of the planets in their solar system just as we can, and maybe their planet, just as our planet, is kind of running out of steam and resources and are being just, pummeled by war and human stupidity and greed and all the nastiness that the human species is able to inflict upon itself and others and nature and the planet as a whole. So I think we already got a working hypothesis here that we're looking at something that comes from a kind of parallel solar system. Now, having learned that, we place ourselves on this tile, and then a day goes by. So I remove the first of our oxygen markers, and as you'll see this dwindle over here, that's when we get down to the red, we have to start maybe thinking about heading back to the entrance again. And now, if this was a control tile, I would be able to try to activate it and then turn on and off other tiles in the ship. But we're not there yet. So I'm not going to do that. But instead, we will have to check for other ways leading out of this location. Because right now, there are no doors. There's no way out of here. And in order to find a way out of this power tile, we have to roll 26 or less. So I'll just start rolling. No, but there's a double 4. So a whole day goes by searching for a way out. Like, we just enter this enclosed room. There is this model of a solar system in a transparent globe in the center, and we're walking around it. And maybe there's a way of maybe it's a kind of puzzle. Maybe by manipulating the other planets inside the sphere and align it or waiting for them to be in a certain position, something will click or unlock and a door will open somewhere. It's as if we are being tested. And right now we're failing because we already spent a whole day in this chamber not finding out anything. And we are just going to keep on looking because what else can we do? There's a 16. That's enough. So now we find an access way out of this place. And the access way leads straight up further into the ship. And it looks like this. So now we can go down that access way, or we can choose to look for more access ways. And I think that it's in the case that we are entering into some kind of, blind alley situation, maybe it's a good idea to have some more options. So I think even though we've already spent a full day just to be able to unlock this one door, now that we have understood kind of how the system works, maybe we can try to manipulate that solar system model a little more to see if we can discover at least one more way out of this room, just for safety. Laura Ray says, maybe it's just another dimension of the solar system to control our own. Interesting suggestion. Yeah, maybe it is almost like a parallel universe. Maybe we're looking at a parallel development of our own species. Some kind of crossover. Maybe just by being in this artifact, we are accessing another dimension, another storyline in this universe. Interesting suggestion. Let's keep that in mind as we travel onwards. I'm just going to keep on searching for access ways here, and I'm going to fail, but then I'm going to succeed. And this time we find one turning to the left. So I think now with these two access way before us, we can start moving ahead. So we're going to spend a day to move down through these maze-like corridors. Time passes, and in front of us, we are going to have another tile. By the way, I should also have put a tile here. So we do like this. So you can see how we are now slowly building up the artifact using rooms and corridors. Ahead of us, we can use vision, magnetometer, or infrared. Now, we don't have a magnetometer. I maybe foolishly chose not to bring it along. I don't know if it's possible to actually find some of this equipment that we didn't bring along in the ship. Maybe. I guess I could also go back to the Discovery shuttle and pick it up, but each character can only carry one piece of equipment, so that would mean leaving something else behind, and it would take time. So for now, let's just, accept the fact that we cannot use the magnetometer to search for magnetic fields in this chamber. But I do see that we can actually use our infrared capabilities. So Schuler, the astronomer, who already seems to be a leading character, she has basically already discovered that we're looking at this parallel solar system with an inhabitable planet close to its sun. She now takes out her infrared gear and she tries looking around this room to see what she can find. And it's a 25 and she needs a 24, so no luck. Oh, it's a double again. Time passes. Schuler is not making much headway. The question is, should we go back to just using vision because it seems it's really hard to scan for infrared? Vision, I mean, but again, like, I also want to try to see if there is some kind of something deep or something that there's more than meets the eye here. We have to go on with this infrared and just hope that we can do it without too much time passing. No luck so far. 23, a success. Perfect. Okay. So Schuler, she puts on her infrared vision and she scans the room, and we do have a success. We do not have a backfire. So let's see what is revealed when we look through our infrared gear. There are some infrared emissions from inside an alcove in one of the walls. If we wish to investigate what is inside the alcove, otherwise nothing happens and continue play. By the way, I just need to make one correction for when we explored the last tile. It says that this tile is treated as on. This is actually important. So I'm going to put a marker like this. The 1 shows that we used option number 1, that is vision, to investigate it. And the green side here shows the tile is on. And without exactly knowing what this means on a larger scale, the game seems to want you to turn things on, because that makes it possible to perhaps somehow better understand the artifact. But at the same time, some things can be dangerous if turned on. But as you can probably already gather right now, this game just does not tell you what's going on. It keeps you in the dark. And I actually really, really love it for that. Like, when have you last played a game that just refused to tell you actually what's going on at all? You're just like clawing at the surface of this big artifact and not understanding a whole lot. So yeah, any suggestions are very, very welcome. Right, okay, I can see we have focus problem. Focus is back. So, Laura says, time is passing way too fast to avoid danger so much. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, we just have to investigate. There is this niche, there is this beaming infrared light coming out of it. And the other people in the group cannot really see what's happening. All they see is just Schuler just walking towards it as if in trance. And Ruiz, the lead astronaut, calls out to Schuler, what's going on, what's happening? And Schuler doesn't respond. She just walks, focused right towards that niche. And now let's see what happens. There are, whoops, I already read that. There's a lot of paragraphs. They're written with very tiny script, so sorry for these tiny delays in the flow of the narrative. Inside the alcove is a small, flat disc. When it is touched, it translates information directly to the brain of the team member. It is a telepathic textbook of scientific and mathematical information. Okay, so Schuler, she just gets a huge download straight into her brain with all sorts of weird mathematical formulas and technical information. She sees all these systems and how they are linked together and how everything in the ship connects, but it's like looking at a chip and it's just impossible to make sense of. But with the added information in her brain, she's kind of somehow getting an idea of something, and she's rambling a little bit when she turns around and talks about these connections and these rooms. They are somehow in communication with each other, and one room can turn on another room, which can make it useful, and if only the right rooms are turned on, we can figure this thing out. It's like a giant Rubik's cubes we're inside, and if we can only just make the correct measurements and put it in the right position, we can somehow solve this. We can understand what's going on. Someone is trying to speak to us, but they're also testing us. This is interesting and deep. The others are sort of blanking out on what's going on, but Schumer just has this sort of sense of purpose. And what we get here game mechanically is 3 information points. And I'm going to show that by putting a green die down here with the number 3 on it. And these information points, they're actually really helpful because they means that every time we roll the dice when we investigate stuff, we can subtract 3 from that roll, making it easier for us to discover more things. So because we now have more knowledge about the inner workings of the artifact and how everything in it is organized and interconnected, we are now generally able to discover what's in these rooms more easily. Now, as we are in this room now, here comes a new aspect of the game, which I find really, really interesting. And that is that every time you're in a chamber, you have to check if the access way that you came to that chamber by, it disappears. And the access ways have a number on them, and that number, we have to roll the dice. We roll more than that number, the access way just disappears behind us. This tile has, access way has 52, so I roll the die. It's 22, which means that it does not disappear. And even though this is a double, no time passes because it doesn't when you check whether these access way disappears. So there's still a corridor back to the entrance, which we're really happy for. We don't want to be cut off, but it's a very real possibility in this game that you can be cut off from the entrance and you'll have to find new ways back by searching for more access ways. So using her new information, and I should say also that the symbol on this tile shows us that it's an intel tile, so it's an information tile. So using that information, we are now going to try to search for other ways out of here. And yeah. Ooh, it's a double, a day pass. So a day passes, but we do find an access way at the end of that day. And we find the access way is going to the right. So here we are. And then this is our new access way. And on the other side of that is a new room. So again, we have the possibility of searching for more ways out of this chamber or to just continue on our way. Now, it might be nice to have more ways out, but I also think that time is of the essence here, and actually this is an intel room, so it's not super easy to find access ways out of it, so I think we're just gonna press on. So let's see, we move into the access way, which means that a day go by, and we are now in front of a new room. And here we can either use vision, Geiger, or ohm meter. So I think like vision is nice when you have no other option. Now, Geiger is really difficult to work in here. We need to have 16 or less, which is, we basically need a 1 on the white die in order for that to work. The ohm meter is slightly easier, 24. So I am curious about testing for radiation, and I think that Payne, who is carrying the Geiger counter, he's like, hey guys, I mean, I think we should just, we don't know what we're walking into here. Let's not be too hasty. Let's make sure that we secure the area and that we're not in some, unhealthy amounts of radiation around us. But Ruiz is countering and saying, look, like your Geiger meters does not show anything. It's gonna be, this room is huge, and if you want to go and test every corner, I don't know if we have the time. So let's start by trying to see if we can get lucky and make that Geiger counter work. And if not, I think we're just going to have to shift to the ohm meter and see if at least we can detect some kind of electrical activity in here. So first the Geiger counter. And let's try a couple more times just to see, because I really want it to work, but it doesn't. And no time has gone by yet, so we have been lucky, but I think we're going to change over to the ohm meter. So Rakovsky, the engineer, steps forward and says, let me handle this. If there's a current in here, I'm going to find it. And he doesn't right away. And actually, he's just roaming around, not finding anything, until finally, on a 13, he does find a current. And now we flip over and see another intel tile. So again, This is a tile with information on it. Now, we may have a problem here. See, I rolled a 13, which is great because it's less than 24. Unfortunately, it's also so low that it's out of the range of the ohm meter, which means we have a backfire. So maybe the current that Rakovsky just detected is a little bit stronger than he expected it to be. Let's see what happens. Okay, are you ready for our first backfire? I'm sure it won't be too bad. I'm almost sure it won't be too bad. Rakovsky has stepped through an electric eye at the entrance of the chamber. As a result, every blue tile in the entire artifact turns off. Treat this tile as permanently off. Lose 3 information points. Oh my goodness. By the way, we should have had this tile, should have been turned on like this. So Rakovsky, as he's searching around for this current, he steps through an eye. I don't even know what that means, but perhaps it's some kind of scanning device, and he moves into it. It somehow reacts to his suit, and suddenly the lights just disappear throughout the entire section of the artifact. And this tile over here, which was turned off, now turns on, and the tile that we're on, that whole chamber has basically been short wired somehow, and it is now permanently off. It will never turn on again. So apparently the ohm meter was not the right way to go here, because we interfered with some kind of, I think, very delicate electrical scanning device, which basically meant that, we have just lost any possibility of learning anything more about this chamber. And whatever it means that this intel chamber over here, it has turned off, I don't know, but I imagine it's not a good thing. Thank you, Laura Ray, for commending me on my sound of light disappearing. I've practiced this for many years, and I finally aced it, it sounds like. So now we'll have to check if the access way behind us disappears. And it does not, which is a good thing. And then we have to search for other access ways. So we begin. Nope. Nope. We're looking around all the corners of the room and nothing is really showing up until suddenly it does. And it turns out that there is another access way leading further to the right. This is good. And it's a very stable access way. I can see it has a high disappearance number, so it seems pretty okay. I still don't like that we're making this kind of snaky way through the artifact, but I'm also conscious of the fact that we're still completely in the dark of what's going on, and time is running out on us. So I think we're not going to search for any more access ways in here, and we're just going to spend the day moving through this newly discovered corridor. And as you can see, we're having less and less of the green oxygen crystals left. And by the way, the 3 information points we had before, they are now gone after we short-circuited this whole thing. Basically, the security maps that was downloaded into the brain of Schuler is now completely useless because all those systems have stopped working. So at the other end of this access way is another chamber that we can either, as usual, just use our vision equipment, which is basically just like basic using our eyes and whatever kind of enhancements of weird zoom technology that we have to look at the room, is always the easiest thing to do with the greatest chance of success, which also kind of tells me that it's probably not what necessarily gives us the most important clue. Though we must say, in the first chamber we entered, when we found that solar system model, that was actually just like looking around. It was right there in front of us. But the new room that we're entering now, we can use vision, we can use the ohm meter again, or we can use the radio. And I think the radio sounds interesting. I mean, we've already explored this possibility that we're looking at something here from a parallel universe. Perhaps we're even looking at ourselves. So I'm gonna take Baxter, the biologist, and gonna try to have him check for any kind of radio connection in here. It's 24 to succeed, so it's not super easy, but as long as we don't roll doubles, we're happy. And here is an exact 24. So Baxter is just brilliant at this. And it's another intel tile. There's so much intel here. Let's hope that this is helpful for us. And this was a very, very slim window. It was actually only on a 23 or a 24 that we would gain information. Anything below a 23 would have backfired. And of course, this is another really interesting element in this game, that when you roll, trying to roll under a specific number to investigate a tile, you don't know what the range is. You only know the upper limit of the range. You don't know what the lower limit is. And if you roll under the lower limit, you get one of those terrible backfire events. So here we were really lucky that we rolled within that only 23-24 window. So let's hope that that also means that here is some serious radio intel. So Baxter, what are you hearing on that radio? Let's check it out. Baxter detects a radio beam at a steady 4.6 megahertz coming from a disc-like device with multicolored lights on its edges. If a semanticist is present, oh my god. So a steady 4.6 megahertz, again, this is where I kind of reveal myself as being not a hard, perhaps not even a soft sci-fi guy, because I have no idea what 4.6 megahertz means. I am more taken by the description of a disc-like device with multicolored lights on its edges. You know, that's the kind of level of sci-fi that I can understand. But there is some kind of radio beam coming out of this disc. Someone has recorded a message, perhaps, and we have a semanticist. We're also told that this tile is turned off. So again, I have no idea what it means, but for now the tile is turned off, but the radio beam is still functioning. So we are gonna take Hiller, and Angela Hiller, our semanticist, she is gonna listen in on the radio message. So are you ready to hear maybe our first ever contact with whatever this artifact is? The frequency may be controlled by the radio. The team will be able to turn any intel tile in the entire artifact on or off from this tile. Okay. Okay. Interesting. So what happens now is that I have to write a little note and put it next to this tile. So we can basically turn off any intel tile in the entire artifact, not just this section. Right now we're in the green section. There's also a yellow section and a white section. We just haven't found them yet. But for the entire artifact, we can turn on or off intel tiles from this very tile. This is great. So I'm gonna write here, turn on, off all intel tiles with radio. Wow. So we didn't actually get any concrete message here, but what we did get was the ability to turn on and off things in the ship. So what we're going to do, of course, is that we're immediately going to turn on the intel tile down here, hoping that it's a good idea to turn off these things. And I guess if we want to communicate with this thing, we need to turn them off. And Hiller, the semanticist, she is saying that this beam, there is some structure in these messages that seems to indicate that there is a language, but it's a kind of, she has never seen this kind of language structure before, or heard this kind of language structure before, but there is definitely a recognizable pattern and a pitch to it that seems to indicate some kind of communication, even though to everyone else present, it just sounds like a lot of beeping and white noise and people just randomly turning the knob of a radio. But Hiller thinks otherwise. Laura Ray says an encrypted message. Yes, indeed encrypted. And again, I have this feeling that we are being tested. I have this feeling that maybe there is this species that wants to communicate with us, but they want to know something about us beforehand. They're not just going to accept us at face value. They want to see if we're actually able to crack these riddles that they're putting up in front of us. Or perhaps perhaps this is communication, perhaps this is meaningful to the artifact and whoever created it or whatever it is. Anyway, this is where we are now, and we're going to test to see if the accessway behind us turns off, and it does not, but almost, like just for a moment, the lights go out in the accessway and a door begins to close shut, and then they turn up again and they open, and everyone holds their breath and very, very conscious of the fact that this is our only way back to the shuttle that'll get us out of this artifact. Okay, let's explore further. Let's see if we can find more access ways out of this ship. Ooh, we find one, but a day passes. So it takes us a long time to find a way out of this, perhaps also because Hiller is insisting that we stay back and work on the message, and the others are kind of getting really impatient and frustrated with her because, it's just beeping and blobbing and white noise everywhere, and it's not making sense to anyone but Hiller, and even she is not actually getting at the gist of it just yet. So let's see. The access way goes up further to the north, and that indicates to me at least that maybe we'll have some kind of chance of cycling back. So I'm actually not too interested in trying to find access ways for these other directions because we may not need them. I think we can maybe circle back when we need to go back to the ship. But right now, we're just going to head down a newfound corridor. A day is going to pass, and we're now down to our last green oxygen cube or crystal. And we are entering a new chamber. What have we learned so far? Well, we have learned that there is a model of a solar system right at the entrance. And you have to remember that when we docked at the artifact, these doors, they automatically opened in front of us and let us into the ship. So something is wanting to communicate with us. And the first thing that they did was to place this model right in front of us. So I think that model is somehow the key to the whole thing. After that, we haven't been super successful, but now at least we have a disk with an encrypted message on it. So let's hope. Already now, I think we have something to take back to Earth, but we still have plenty of days left to explore, so we're going to try to find out as much as we can before we head back to the shuttle. Right now, though, we are in front of a chamber where we can use vision tool type pyrometer. And the pyrometer, that measures heat radiation, but unfortunately, we do not have a pyrometer. I opted to leave the pyrometer and the magnetometer back in the Discovery shuttle. So again, maybe a poor choice, but we'll have to make do with what we have. And I know that tools are kind of the brute force way, but we haven't really tried that before. Just like, I feel what we're doing now, we're just taking like a wrench and then we're just like screwing something loose or breaking something open with a crowbar or the equivalent of a crowbar at least. It's probably a little bit more advanced like that. But these are actually not electrical tools. These are just like standard non-electrical tools. So we're just going to try to brute force, like open some kind of cupboard or some kind of instrument panel and see what's down there. Let's go. We need a 35. And that's a 34. So again, hugely successful. I mean, Ruiz, he just steps up and he takes his crowbar and he just opens up the front of this cupboard. What does he find? Let's see. Yes, oh, a clear success here. Let's hope there's something interesting. The tools have no effect on anything in the chamber. Treat this tile as off. Okay. So when that happens and an approach doesn't reveal any information, you're allowed to use one other approach. And since we don't have a pyrometer, the only thing we can do is use our vision gear, or we can just leave the chamber. But I think we should try to really explore as much as we can. So we are going to try to use our vision gear. We're going to set Hiller up, and she's like probably shaking her head at Ruiz, saying like, what are you thinking? Like, this is a sophisticated alien species. I mean, you cannot just apply a hammer to this thing and try to make sense of it. You have to be more refined. And sort of brushing him off like that, she starts looking for clues around the room. And she immediately finds something. Something catches her eye. What is it? There are numerous electric eyes in the chamber ahead. If any red control tile is on in the artifact. Well, the only red tiles in the artifact is an intel and a power. We haven't even seen a single control tile yet. So, unfortunately, she's just looking at this wall of electric eyes. And we should mark it as off, but we should mark it as a vision off. Just gonna do this. And we should also, by the way, write this down here as a backfire. So basically she is like being under surveillance. We're in this dome and it's just covered with thousands of electric pulsating eyes. Every time we take a step, we can just hear the eyes just zoom and change direction, just focusing. And there is sometimes this sort of yellowish broken line that runs down over the eyes as if they're scanning us as we move around. It's a very sort of claustrophobic, unpleasant place to be. We feel like we are test subject in some crazy experiment, which may be more true than we actually care to imagine. But we just need to get out of here fast. This is not a nice place to be. And the room is not even turned on. What happens if this is turned on? I mean, we got to get out of here. We really got to get out of here. It's an intel room, so we could go back to this room and turn this thing on, but we're not gonna. We just gotta get out of here. Let's see if the access way behind us, it remains. It does. And then just let's search for some way out of here. Not on that roll. Oh, no. So, a die rolled off the table. It is a moment of dramatic suspense, a cliffhanger for the ages. Every board gamer will have known this moment when the die rolls off the table. And the question always is, should you consider that die as rolled? Should we use the number on the die on the floor, or should we do a reroll? An ominous sign, Swordvende said when one of the dice rolled off the table. And when I looked under the table and found it, it turned out to be another one. So we did roll a double, and it is gonna count. And we are gonna lose our last green oxygen crystal. But it also means that we are gonna find an access way. So we are gonna find a way out of this crazy alien panopticon. And the direction will be left. So see here, we are kind of circling back. Yeah, I don't think we need to look for any more access way. I think we're just going to take this one and see if we can somehow... I think it would be nice to have multiple paths back to the shuttle. That's the thing I worry about. If we suddenly lose access ways, one thing is to find an access way. Another thing is to find an access way that actually points in the direction that you want to go, because we are not actually in control of that. So leaving the Panopticon behind, we enter into the access way, and another day passes. We're now eating off a yellow oxygen crystals. Here we can use vision, infrared, or radio. And infrared is hard with 16, radio is 26. Now, we didn't learn a whole lot from the last radio disc, but it was a success, whereas the infrared check that we did the last time basically just ended up turning off half the ship, or the artifact. So I think we are... Our hero that's emerging here, or two heroes, I should say, is Helen Schuler and Angela Heller. And Angela Heller, she will use her... No, sorry. It's Baxter, of course, who has the radio. So the biologist Baxter, he will use his radio to see if he can discover some kind of radio communication here that Heller, the semanticist, she can then help decipher. We need A26. Ooh, and it's there on the first go, but it's also a double, so another day goes by. And I think what happens now is also bad, because we have clearly rolled below the lower range, so we have a backfire. We have a backfire. I don't know what it means for a radio to backfire, but we're gonna find out. The team hears in their helmets a high-pitched whine, which quickly passes into the inaudible range. If the radio equipment is with the team, it is damaged, and if it's beyond day 50, it cannot be repaired. We don't even have 50 days. If you play with less scientists and astronauts in your group, you have more days. So a smaller team gives you less options, but more days. So I opted for a large team and less days, which I think is more exciting. But that's actually completely up to the player. So, and the tile is on. Okay. So this is a control tile. So as we walk in and Baxter, he cranks up the radio, suddenly there is this ear-piercing whine. And it's not just like feedback from a loudspeaker. It's almost like a scream. It's like a soul being dragged out of a body. It's that sound. Just the scream that comes from the depth of the soul, and you can almost see the soul being stretched so thin it becomes like the string on a violin, and it's that sound, that whiny, screeching sound of a soul being stretched out through hyperspace across the universe, and it pierces our ears, and there is this feeling of something warm running down the sides of our chin. The blood that slowly creeps out of our ears. And Baxter looks down at the radio, and with a snap, a merciful snap, it breaks open. And there's just like this tiny little plume of smoke that rises from the radio, and it is now broken. Now, we can repair the radio, try to repair it, and trying to repair the radio can either result in not succeeding, or it can result in repairing the radio or breaking the radio. But I think there's no doubt that we have to try to see if we can repair it. But yeah, first things first. Okay, we are on a control tile. Now, this means that we can activate this tile. And if we activate this tile, it's a green control tile. From there, we can turn on and off other green tiles in this section. So that might be helpful, except right now there are no other green symbol tiles in the section. So I don't know, it may not be worth activating this control panel yet. And I also think that after this sound that just pierced our ears of this stretched out soul in the universe, we're not really too keen on fiddling with any more of the knobs on this instrument panel. So instead, we're just going to try to see if we can fix the radio, and we succeed on a 1, we fail on a 6, and a 4 means nothing happens. So we'll have to wait till later to try to fix the radio. Then we have to see if the passageway behind us remains, and it does. And then we have to start looking for new passageways. Now, the thing about the control tiles, which are the tiles that basically the chambers that are somehow interconnected with other chambers in the room in a way that from this chamber we can activate and deactivate other chambers. They are also hubs in the artifact. So it's kind of easier to find access way out of these chambers than other chambers. So here we just need a 36 or less. So let's hope this goes smooth and easy and we find perhaps more than one access way out. First is a failure. And we're looking around. And I mean, there are all these access ways, but they don't really lead anywhere. Then it's just like a niche or around the corner, or maybe we spend an hour going down a corridor and then suddenly it just ends, dead end. And we're kind of trying to see if there's any way that we can continue, but no, and we have to spend another hour just walking back. And then a day passes. Time is slowly but surely running out on the Discovery mission. No luck. And I just said that it was easy to find something. Another day passes. What is happening? My goodness. I mean, what is this thing? This is an activation hub, but we don't know what it can activate. And it's every time we follow a corridor, we end up in the same chamber. It's like a maze. We need to map this thing. We need to map this thing quickly. No, another day, walking in circles. What can we do? Do we need to go? Can we go back? Should we go back? But going back is going back into the electrical eye room where we will be surveyed and scanned and measured and probed. And I know we spent 3 days in this control room and the radio is not working. We all got like a screaming tinnitus in our ears, and we just can't seem to find a way out. Well, we gotta keep at it. Ruiz, lead the way. Pain, lead the way. Finally, an access way. Oh my God, we're not going to search for more access ways in here because this is too much of a nightmare. And that access way, oh, interesting. It leads back down to where we were before. So now we actually have a connector down to this room. But I know I just said we shouldn't look for more access ways in here, but I actually think that we do need to do that, because otherwise we're just going to circle back, and it's good to know that we have access here. We've established that, but we really also should find another way out of here. And we haven't quite cracked the code, it seems. We're still struggling, but now we've found another access way. And this one leads further to the left. Oops, here we go. Okay, so we're beginning to kind of build a map that seems to have some coherence. So it's nice to know now that we have actually multiple paths back to the shuttle. We still have a weak link right here, but if we're lucky, we can also make a new connection here, because going back through these rooms is easy. It doesn't really, as when we have mapped it, it doesn't take us time to move backwards again. The only thing that can take time is if the access back is severed, but right now it's not. And we are going to move down this newly discovered corridor. Another day is going to pass. I feel that these yellow oxygen crystals, they are disappearing way faster than the green ones before, which is a little bit alarming. Anyway, we still got 4 left. Now we are in a room where we can use either a vision or a Geiger counter or the pyrometer, which we don't have. The Geiger counter is a little bit difficult to find something, but I think it's less difficult than the other room we were in, and I think it's worth it because we haven't really checked for radiation anywhere. We may be just walking around in floods of radiation, and that may be also why we are sort of losing oxygen faster than we thought. Like, why we're moving slow. What happened when we were just spending 3 days walking in circles around this giant control hub, as if we're kind of slightly losing our mind or not really being able to focus, or we're just constantly losing our way. I think something is eating at us. Something in this atmosphere is not healthy for us. So Payne is going to bring out the Geiger counter and see what he can find. And it's a success, immediate success. Okay, something's in here and it's within range, so we do discover something. And we are now entering a new power tile. Let's see what we discover with the Geiger counter. No radiation is detected. No information is gained. Treat this tile as off. Okay, so good news. No radiation in here, at least. So that's not what's been making us dizzy and silly. Maybe it's also just, the sheer repetition of moving around these corridors that you just lose the ability to actually distinguish between them, and you just end up just going in circles. There's something about, there's a certain kind of drivel to being here, which just can make even the sanest person go insane, I think. Now, as we had before, when you don't discover something, you can actually try to search in a different way. And it is possible in here to simply just use our 2 eyes. So we're going to ask Heller, the semanticist, to look around with her laser sharp eyes to see if she can see something that the rest of us can't. And, well, she spends a day moving around, looking at stuff, and she does find something at the end of that day. And everyone is like half asleep, slumped over their equipment in the middle of the floor, just like yawning, sleeping, zoning in and out. And Heller, she's just like crawling the walls looking for clues. And then she says, "There's something here. There's something here." And now I need the magnifying glass because whatever something is so small I can't see it. Oh, I got it. The team sees a large vat of clear, glowing liquid ahead. Treat this tile as off. Okay. You gotta love this game. So, without any further commentary or context, we see a huge vat with some kind of clear liquid. What does this tell us? Well, it tells us that they, whoever they are, have access to water. There is apparently nothing in this vat of water. It's just like, or if it even is water, it could also be some kind of gel or something. Perhaps they're storing something? Could that be? Are they challenging us to find a way to awaken them? If we turn everything on, I mean, this room is also turned off. What it was for turned on? Could it be that some kind of living species are stored in liquid vats? I have no idea. I have literally no idea. And I mean, I know I'm harping on this, but it just amazes me how brave as a designer it is to create a game like this, which just confounds and confuses, but in that sense really puts you in the shoes of these explorers. Like, we are understanding exactly as little as they are. And luckily, we are only spending a few hours here, and they've already spent like a sizable number of days. But yeah, what can we say? We just have to press on. So, a vat of clear liquid. The access way behind us stays. No time goes by when we roll doubles on these kind of rolls, so that's all good. But now we have to search for access way. And this is a power tile, so it's actually really difficult to find access ways out of this room. So we may have to go back to the control room if we cannot find an access way relatively quickly. Let's see, need a 16. I'm just gonna try a few more times searching. Yeah, there is one. It takes us an entire day, but we do find a passageway out. And it leaves up north. So it leaves further into the artifact. And I'm beginning to get this sort of sense that we're almost being lured into the artifact. Deeper and deeper and deeper, drawn in. We have already been in the electrical eye room, the panopticon. We have been scanned and surveyed. Maybe whatever this is already knows more about us than we would care for it to know about us. And pondering all that, we spend another day moving down the corridor, now getting closer to red oxygen levels. All right, what lies ahead? I should also say that when we have searched 4 more rooms, we will enter the next section of the ship. I think it's also possible to enter a new section earlier, but we just haven't found any clue. And again, the clues that we have found, I have no idea how representative it is of the other clues, of course. It seems that we're getting a lot of sort of softy information. Perhaps we are being spurred on to try to connect these things and take charge of the story. I think we already have some kind of framework of a story, a parallel dimension with an alternative evolution of our solar system has somehow linked up to our dimension, perhaps because their resources are running out and they're looking for a new place to stay, but they also don't want to, spill the beans and just open up an access way back to that dimension. And maybe they are somehow challenging us to solve this puzzle, which will make it possible for us to be in contact with them. And perhaps there is some kind of, mutual benefit to this thing. I mean, it's not openly hostile, right? I mean, we walked straight into this, what could be like a giant Death Star, and nothing has sapped us. No one has died. The only thing that has died is our radio, which, by the way, we should remember to try to fix. I'll do that in a minute. But yeah, so nothing here is openly hostile. I think whatever this is, it's open for negotiations. And Laurie says, it feels like they're using us to get the clues they need. Yeah, that's another possibility, of course, that we are actually solving something for them. Yeah, maybe we are test subject somehow. I mean, it certainly wasn't nice being scanned and surveyed like that before. But while we ponder that question, let's see if we can fix that radio. And we can. The radio is back on. Suddenly Baxter, he just gives out a loud shout, woohoo! And we hear some feedback, and everybody clutches like the sides of their space helmets, trying to hold their ears, which of course doesn't work. But luckily this time the feedback is just kind of low, and it's basically just a signal that the radio is back on. So in front of us is another chamber. We can use vision, pyrometer, and ohm meter. Again, this pyrometer comes up a lot, and we didn't bring it. So sorry about that, guys. We're never going to learn anything about heat radiation, apparently, in this game. But we do have the ohm meter, and the ohm meter is Rakovsky, our engineer. And even though he did have a bit of an accident before, he didn't really have an accident, but he just he did have an accident with that weird scanner device that somehow reacted negatively to his measurements and just shut down parts of the ship. So we can't really do anything about that. But let's see. Perhaps he learned his lesson. Perhaps he can use it in a more efficient way now. And he rolls a 21, which is perfect for the ohm meter. Let's see. Or is it perfect? Is it too low? Oh, it's too low by 1. So there is something about this Rakovsky guy, right? Like, he's the engineer, and he has this ohm meter, and he's like, he knows everything about electricity. He knows exactly how to handle it, and just leave it to me, I'll make it fine. But so far what we've seen is that he basically broke the circuit in part of the ship. And right now, something is going wrong again. Who is this Rakovsky guy? Is this on purpose? Has this mission been compromised? Are we all working towards the same goal? Everyone thinks as Rakovsky sticks his ohm meter close to a socket in the wall, and as the team moves into the chamber, a brilliant globe of white light envelops them. Oh my God. We're just standing there, we're looking around. It's like we're inside. It's like that model of the solar system we looked on, and we are now as if we were 6 planets revolving inside this giant bubble of translucent bright white light. No harm is done, unless one member is already incapacitated, but none of us are incapacitated. We're all at full health. Otherwise, someone would have suffered a heart attack. But we don't. That's all that happens. And the thing is on. Okay. So, did we just meet the species? Is that it? Are they giant globes of light? Was this communication? Whoa. It was almost as if we were being embraced. There was the bright light, a warm feeling. It's as if I was touched by something, as if I saw something different. Is there a spiritual level to this game? Is this light something out of this world? Is this light some different kind of consciousness? Are we looking into different realities? It felt warm to the touch. I'm beginning to think Space Odyssey, 2001 Space Odyssey here, this trippy ending of the movie where they just travel through all these crazy visions. Are we experiencing some kind of... There's also this feeling of an egg, of birth and rebirth, connection. I have no idea. I don't know what Rakovsky did there that triggered that. And he's kind of trying to reproduce it, just putting his ohm meter at all these other sockets, but nothing happens. Was this a good or a bad thing? We don't know. Okay. I think we just encountered a species. I really do. And Heller, she's almost certain of it. She's trying to reproduce sounds on Baxter's newly repaired radio, trying to find frequencies to get some kind of response. She felt that there was some kind of frequency disturbance when that white light was around us. There was some kind of radio beam activity. But much as she tries, she cannot connect. She just cannot. What about the accessway behind us? It remains. So far, no passageways behind us has closed. So that's a positive. Again, it feels friendly. Like I'm not... The only thing that felt not friendly was the observation room. But then again, I mean, I understand they are kind of, you know, just this one artifact that comes to this giant planet with this like messed up civilization of human beings trying to kill each other. So I would also be kind of wary of engaging with a human being, I guess. So I understand a bit of surveillance. But anyway, the accessway stays, and we have to try to find our way. It's another power tile, so again, it's difficult to find a way out of these power tiles. And let's see how much time it takes to get there. Another day goes by. This was the last of our yellow oxygen. We're now down to red oxygen. We have 10 red oxygen and 4 black oxygen. So we spent 20 out of 34 oxygen. Yeah, when we get down to the black, it's get the hell out of here. So let's hope that we can have some meaningful research with these last 10 oxygen crystals. Oh my goodness, we just lost another one. We just cannot find our way out of this room. I think we are marked, we're stunned, we have felt a presence, and that presence it's not just being face to face with another being, it's like meeting a being inside yourself. It's like discovering that there is a life inside yourself that is not you. Maybe it is that parallel life form. Maybe we exist in multiple places at the same time, but it was like meeting ourselves for the first time, like having been lost in life and not having found your path or your place or your role or your partner. And then suddenly that moment where everything clicks and you are exactly where you're meant to be. A deeper spiritual contact with yourself. So I think time just passes. We know we should move on, but we also kind of don't want to move on. Let's see what happens. Yeah. We're just walking around in a daze here. And then finally, someone, I guess it's Pain, who says, look, there's a door here. There's a doorway, and it's right in front of us. It has been there the whole time, but for some odd reason, we just didn't see it. Do we start feeling like we don't even want to go back? And the accessway leads further into the ship. Okay, we are getting deep into this artifact. Okay, let's move ahead. Another day passes. Oxygen is getting lower, but somehow I'm not so worried anymore. I have a good feeling about this. They all have a good feeling about this. I think. I mean, I did cast a bit of suspicion on Rakovsky before, but maybe he's just, he's just like an all thumbs guy, It's okay. It's okay. We'll be okay. It's also the way we talk. Like before there were more tension. We were fighting. There was a lot of frustration when we were stuck down in the control hub. But now it's like everyone is just more loose, more accepting. As we enter this further chamber, where we can either use our vision equipment, our radio, or a Giger. And Baxter says, the radio. I fixed the radio. Let's try to see. I think maybe we can pick something up in here. Let's see if he picks something up. And he does succeed to some extent, but I do think that, once again, unfortunately, it's another backfire. Oh my goodness. Something's up with this radio, or something's up with Baxter, but again, we have a backfire on the radio. Swordvander says, a mind-altering journey into the innermost sanctum of the alien artifact. I think that is the tagline, you know? This is the movie poster tagline. We are moving, I think, from the material plane into the spiritual plane as we speak. But let's see if this radio backfire changes things up. If any green control tile is on in the artifact, beep, 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 beep. Actually, 2 are. Nothing happens when the team enters the chamber to investigate it. Otherwise, something bad could have happened, I think. The tile is on. Okay. So, interestingly, this means that we can actually keep on investigating. But we went in here and there was some kind of, you know, you remember that scream, that sort of that whine, that like soul being drawn out whine that we had before. It was just an echo of it, like faint echo of it. And then it was muted. And we now feel sort of the power of just this whole place being alive. And we do remember that down here, where we found the control that allows us to turn on the other red tiles in this section, we could turn on this power tile. I mean, it's far back, but maybe on our way back we'll do it. I still don't feel like turning on the surveillance room. But again, here we see the power of turning these things on. Like, this thing wants to communicate with us, or we want to communicate with ourselves, whatever it is. Let's look around. Heller uses, there's also the Giger counter, but it's super difficult and we don't have much oxygen. So I think we're gonna go for the vision. So Heller is just gonna look around as she does best. And she didn't find anything in the first attempt, but in the second attempt, she's successful. So Angela Heller looks around this room, hoping that this warning we had in the radio isn't anything serious. But try as she might, she just cannot see anything. And unfortunately, as we spent time in this room, suddenly it just turns off. Completely off. And we're left in the dark. We have no idea what happened. We weren't interacting with anything, but the lights turning off is almost like a sign of disappointment, as if we were meant to see something, as we were meant to find something, but we missed our opportunity. And whatever this artifact is, it kind of lost hope in us a little bit, and it went dark. And we're longing back to that warm embrace of the white light in the previous room. So, does the access way behind us stay on? It does. Do we find another access way out of this? It's another power tile. I mean, this also means moving through these power tiles is so time consuming because it's so difficult to find access ways out of them. Another day passes. I'm at the point where I think that maybe we shouldn't continue this way. Maybe it's a sign. Maybe it turned off for a reason. We're just running too low on oxygen. So I think that we're just going to backtrack down to the control room and try to look for that final exit out of this room, because we have better chances here. I know that we're stuck here for 3 days, but we did also crack the code in the end. So hopefully, without too much effort, we can find a way back in there. And actually, no, let's do that. Let's do that because we can move freely here. And in first attempt, we do actually find an access way out. And yeah, and this of course leads north. So let's see what comes on the other side. 64. Now comes our second to last tile in the green section, meaning that soon we'll be entering a new section of the ship, which will be the yellow section. Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna spend a day walking up through the access way, draining our resources further. And here we can use vision, magnetometer, or tools. Now, we don't have the magnetometer. The tools, you know, last time we used them, it didn't really have any effect, and Heller got really upset, actually, that Ruiz was just trying to brute force this thing. But I think also that Ruiz is losing patience. Ruiz is like, look, like we're running out of oxygen. We have to find a way. We have to just get more information because we have to turn back soon. We cannot wait for you, Heller, walking around these rooms for days, staring at walls, mumbling to yourself, trying to decipher a language that we don't even know whether exists. Like we don't even have script here. Like you have weird screams that sounds horrible and soul-wrenching in the radio, and you call that a language? And Heller says, like, you don't understand, Ruiz. Like, you don't understand. You're just like a simple astronaut. Like, think that everything can be solved with a hammer and an axe and a wrench. But in the end, there's no stopping Ruiz, and he just starts basically pulling things apart in this room. And maybe that's not a good sign. He's not successful immediately, but he just keeps at it. He just keeps hammering away, trying to find some kind of... And there, finally, something gives and breaks open with a sickening crack. And unfortunately, the crack is indeed sickening, because we just got ourselves another backfire. And Heller, she is shaking her head as again Ruiz pries open a panel and something happens. The transparent sphere that is being examined by the team begins to tremble and then explodes, incapacitating the investigating member. Okay. So apparently there's some kind of sphere, and just trying to manipulate it, in the end, out of frustration, Ruiz, he just take the sphere, hold it over his head, and he throws it down into the floor, and it splinters, and this beam of energy shoots out from it, and Ruiz drops to the ground, incapacitated, in a comatose state. He's lying on the floor, and Pain immediately kneels down to him, tries. There's breathing, there's a heartbeat, he's alive, but he's in a coma, and we have to carry him with us, and we can try to do some kind of, first aid on him, whatever tools we have to inject him with to try to make him come out of the coma. But for now, he's in a coma. And let's see, is it beyond day 38? No, it's not, because we are only playing 34 days, so nothing more happens. Interestingly, what this tells me is that the more days go by, the more dangerous it is to be in here. So maybe the impatience that we are feeling is also being felt on the other side by the alien species. And the tile is now impassable and permanently off. Oh my God, this is bad news. So what this basically means is that we cannot even enter this tile. It is permanently off. It is impassable. Ruiz, in his frustration, broke the sphere, and whatever standing we were on with this artifact previously, we may just have somehow alienated the aliens, so to speak. Okay, guys, where do we go from here? We do not have a lot of time left. We have vague ideas of what is happening, and I must say that to me, it seems every time we get impatient and we try to brute force our way through, bad things happen. And I think that there is this sense that everybody wants to be back in that room with a white sphere. And as we go up here, we know that this is a place where we might be stranded. We might not get out of this room, but we are really trying to reconnect and again feel sort of that warm, glowing spirit around us. So going back, no longer really knowing what we're looking for, it's like there's gotta be a way out of here, but if it leads into that impassable area, that's not gonna fly. Is this gonna work? Chances are so slim. But somehow I can't resist. We can't resist. We're just doing it. We gotta try to find a way. We just gotta. Oh, and a day passes. And another day passes. And finally, we find a path. And the path leads further left, deeper inside the artifact. This is what it was trying to tell us. This is what this white blinding light was trying to tell us. It was pointing us in this direction. I'm sure of it. It almost feels like we don't have agency or free will, like we're being drawn further into the artifact. And even though we no longer feel this presence around us, we're just walking, almost as in a trance, through this corridor. Another day passes. We are down to 7 oxygen, guys. Start counting. This is the last tile of the green section. We can use vision, pyrometer, or tools. So, even Ruiz does not want to brute force anything anymore. It's like every tool you use inside this artifact is a way of communication, and every interaction with it is kind of a violation. Like using a wrench or a crowbar violates the integrity of the artifact, and it strikes back. So without the pyrometer, all we can do is just look around, and Heller, she just walks in as if in a daze, and she scans the room with her eyes. And she sees something. Yeah, she does. We are now on another power tile, the last tile of this section. We're on the threshold of entering the next section of the artifact. But what does Heller see in here? The chamber is covered with a black, non-reflective surface. Treat this tile as off. Ooh. So we are in complete darkness. It is like, this kind of black paint that does not reflect any light. So if you paint it on a wall, it looks as if there's a hole in the wall. This is what it looks like. We are inside a black hole. Like, why would someone do this? This seems This seems made for us. It does not seem like a logical thing to have in an artifact like this. It seems made for us. And this is also the threshold to the next section. So we're standing in complete and utter darkness. The only sound is the sound of our heavy metal boots on the gratings on the floor. How are we ever going to find a way out of here? And what about the access way behind us? Doom! It disappears. Oh my God! We got an incapacitated astronaut, comatose. We're in a chamber which is dark, like not just dark, it is black. It is unreflectively black. We're at the center of the universe with nothing to guide us, and we cannot find our way in any direction. And let's just have a check to see how Ruiz he deals with this in his comatose state. Is he somehow able to wake up from this, or does he disappear from us forever? Well, so far, he just stays in his coma and nothing more happens. Okay. We're running out of oxygen. We don't have a way back at this moment. We are in crisis. So let's desperately try to look for a way out. And we are on a power tile, so it's actually supremely difficult to find ways out from this one. Okay. We are lost in darkness, but we are also about to transition into another section of the ship, whatever that means. Well, here we have it. We find a way. We're fumbling our way around in the dark, and suddenly it's there. And it leads us further down. This way. So it's heading back towards the entrance, but we're still cut off. We have no way of accessing the shuttle at this point. We're certainly not going to look for anything. Someone just suddenly we have to guide by just calling out to each other and kind of hold hands and make a chain and just walk through this narrow corridor. It's almost like the walls are pressing in from either side and we can just barely fit. And then suddenly as we move through this canal, it opens into a larger room on the other side. And clearly now we're in a different part of the ship. There is a different kind of geometry almost to the rooms. They have sharper edges. They don't have that sort of smooth organic feel that they had before. Everything is sort of more crash, more rough, almost as if this is more like an unpolished, almost perhaps even unfinished part of the artifact that we have just entered. We can use vision, tools, and pyrometer, and oh my God, how I wish we brought the pyrometer. We have been needing it so many times. But, still I feel, I don't trust Ruiz with the tools. So let's just use Heller's vision, basically, and try to see what she can find. And also, of course, a day passes as we move down the accessway. 6 oxygen left. So Swordvander says, do we have to make a run for the exit? Yeah, we do have to make a run for the exit. The problem right now is that we are not connected to the exit. There is nothing linking the part of the ship that we're in to the exit. So we just gotta pray that we can find an access way that leads back into a known part of the ship. But yeah, we will very soon have to make a run for the exit. Let's see. Let's use our vision. 63, it works. Great. This is an intel room. Hopefully we can learn something. And let's see what we find, what we observe in here. There are small round discs set in a metal plate in the floor ahead. When the team turns a flashlight on the plate, the discs begin to glow in a pattern. They realize the discs are pulsating in a binary code, repeating the numbers 1 to 100. Treat this tile as on and gain 1 information point. Okay, so we're entering the new section of the ship, and in the first section of the ship, we were met by this solar system model. Now, instead, we are met by some kind of binary code. I'll put our information points down here. You can see it, yeah. So there are discs in the floor, and they are repeating numbers between 1 and 100. It's a binary code. Yeah, I mean, if this give any of you out there any insights into what's actually going on in this game, I would love to hear it. I am just, you know, I think at least we are recognizing something, meaning that whatever this is not so alien that we are completely unable to make sense of it. Like there is some kind of recognition, which speaks perhaps to some kind of universality in the universe. But what it is, I don't know. But I do have a feeling that if we could only crack that binary code, I think someone's speaking to us and we are not listening. It's a little bit what life is in general on this planet, right? You know, we're living our lives, and it is as if the universe, the planet, our surroundings, even other people are speaking to us, but we don't hear what they're saying. Like we're just not. We're in communication with something, but we don't know that we're in communication with it. We think that we're just like all alone, that we are cut off from everything, that we just float around like these isolated bubbles of life in the universe. We don't get that we are connected even when the universe is screaming at us. But we just don't hear it. I feel that way about this binary code. There's a message right there for us written on the floor, and then just nothing. Okay, let's see if the access way behind us stays there. Luckily it does. And let's see if we can find a way out. This is an intel, so it shouldn't be too difficult to find a way out, but one never knows. Yeah, we just found a way out. And it leads, oh my goodness. Yeah, so this leads further into the artifact, and we have just been isolated. I feel that the artifact somehow on purpose has isolated us from the exit. So we could now, of course, search for more access ways, but again, I have this feeling that we're being led on for better or for worse. So, okay, I'll search for one more access way to see if we can find a way to reconnect back to the other section of the ship. I'll just give it a few attempts, and if it doesn't work, then so be it. Laura Ray says, not cracking the message has isolated us. Yeah, I agree. I agree. So let's keep on looking. Oh my God, a whole day passes. And that is enough to tell me that this is not the way to go. This cannot be solved by just finding a simple passageway back, because I think the message here is that we should not go back, we should go forward. So Advander says, is there even a sensible way of writing out code? Right now it seems completely jumbled. Yeah, I agree. It does. But yeah, there's nothing to do. There's nothing but just going on. We're gonna spend a last red oxygen. I don't know if you can even see this, guys, but we have 4 black oxygen crystals left. And when they are gone, we are gone. And right now we're cut off from base, and the ship or the artifact is clearly telling us not to try to brute force a way back. Just go with the flow. Maybe there is another way back. I don't know. But let's try to find out. Okay. I mean, we're in a different section now, so completely different kind of information may be stored in this section. And remember, there are 3 sections, and this is only the second one. So there's a lot of stuff we're not seeing. So we can here use vision, Geiger, or tools, or Geiger. So we're definitely going to try to use the Geiger counter. It's difficult, but we need some other information than, because the thing is, it's okay to observe a binary code, but maybe what the artifact is telling us that if we had the pyrometer and we used that on the binary code, somehow by looking at heat radiation, I don't know, we could learn something else about it. It seems like we're missing tools. So let's at least try to use the Geiger counter to see if we can learn something about this new room we're stepping into. So, oh, and also let's see how Ruiz is doing. On a 1, he's doing fine. On a 5, he stays in coma. So he's still in coma. Payne steps forth with the Geiger counter. And he will... Ooh, it's a 12. So it's below what he needs to roll, but I'm afraid it's too low. It is too low. I mean, we're also not super successful in our actions with the artifact here, right? We needed a 13 to succeed, and we got a 12. So we have not been... It's not a lucky day, let's say that. But, you know, that's not the point. Anyway, we have a backfire. This is a control tile. So this can control other tiles, meaning, for example, from this tile, potentially, if we activate it, we can turn on the black room, which, I don't know, might light it up and reveal something else. Okay. So it's a backfire, unfortunately. Let's see what that means. So this is a second astronaut, by the way. So if he has a mishap, then it's really bad. So let's hope it's not that. A screen drops in front of the team and begins displaying various symbols. If a semanticist is present. Okay, now it is Abyss. Now it is Abyss. A screen just dropped in front of us. And I think it's on. And suddenly Hiller, she starts tracing these symbols, hoping to make some kind of sense of what's going on. The symbols can be interpreted as Old English, which the semanticist will be able to read. He's thus able to activate the tile. If activated, treat this tile as on. Okay, so we are on a screen reading a message in Old English. Okay. I mean, there could be some kind of time travel involved here, but it could also just be, yeah, Swordvander suggests Old English, are we traveling in time? Maybe it could also be that the artifact is just desperately grasping for any kind of languages that it can, you know, somehow try at us. It has no idea which languages we understand, but suddenly we're reading something in Old English. And I think actually what we are reading is probably, we are reading parts of a story from the Canterbury Tales, this old medieval story collection written by Chaucer. And it's all these tales about sort of pilgrims traveling and telling tales to each other, and it's just part of it. And Hiller, she remembers this from her classroom days when she was just a student. It's like it's communicating to us with Chaucer, and she reads it, and as she reads it, and she kind of finds the rhythm of reading. Chaucer is a rhymes, by the way, so it has this kind of rhyming sense, which kind of almost makes you forget the meaning of the sentences as you just listen to the rhymes as they fall one upon the other, upon the third, upon the fourth. It's almost trance-like. And clearly, this is not about the content of what they're showing us, but it is an attempt at just connecting. And I feel that maybe we are being reductive when we're trying to understand them purely through language. Maybe it's just this act of them putting something up on a screen for us and us repeating this is what creates the connection. Laura Ray suggests it's just a projection of her mind. Could be. Just seeing herself on a screen, just slightly going insane. Or it could also be that it could also be some kind of warning from the future, something traveling back to warn us or to stop us, or yeah, it's difficult to know. Is it external? But everyone is seeing the Old English on the screen. But then again, it could be Heller just projecting her mind onto the screen for everyone else to see. But why Chaucer? But then again, it's that exact passage that she remembered from her days as a student. It's the passage that her teacher wrote on the blackboard in class. Is something getting into her mind? What could it be? Clearly, we're in a different section of the ship, and clearly, this artifact does not care that our oxygen levels are running low, or perhaps it's just not aware of what it's about to do. Or perhaps it just expects more people to arrive on later missions. But right now, let's see if the accessway stays. It does. We do not become further isolated, which is a good thing. And then we looking for other accessway. Swordvander says, so it's a projection of whatever you want it to be. Yeah, that's a good point. Now I'm thinking of Tarkovsky, Stanislaw Lem, Solaris, and Stalker. These sort of explorations of, wish-granting technologies, where you are presented with what you want, but you then discover that you don't really know what you want. Maybe. I don't know. Let's look for accessway, because we need a way out, because whether that artifact understands it or not, we are running out of oxygen desperately. By the way, we have to check for Ruiz again, how he's doing. And Ruiz is still in a coma. Okay. Yeah, we do find an accessway out, and it leads down. Can we even make it? I don't know if we can even make it, but what can we do? I mean, we can try to backtrack and reconnect, but it just feels like backtracking is not the right option here. But certainly we can't afford to search for anything more than what we're finding. We can try to activate the control marker, and we can try to turn on this dark room. Yeah, let's just try that. I know we don't have a lot of oxygen, but we're kind of running out of ideas here. So we're going to try to activate this control panel just desperately. We're reading these poems of Chaucer. We go to the screen, and then we just start manipulating the screen in various ways, sliding images around, and bits and pieces of text and images start floating across the screen as if some kind of kaleidoscopic dream or your last vision just before you die, and just your whole life just being displayed in front of your eyes in these very last moments. And we try to activate this thing desperately, desperately, desperately. Come on, something must give, something must give. And then click, it turns on, it becomes activated. And now that it's activated, suddenly on the screen, we see these different rooms laid out and the passageways between them. And we can kind of move the black hole room into the center of the screen, and we can try to activate it. And desperately pushing buttons, and then finally it succeeds, and we turn on the power module up in the black room. Now, if all else fails, we may just have found a way back from up here, though we don't have the parameter, so we can't really do much more there, but I think we may have unlocked an access way if we're lucky. So right now, we just still have to push on, spend another oxygen. We have 3 left. The room down here, we can use vision, radio, or infrared. I think we've played around enough with that radio without really getting anything. So I think we should try to do the infrared survey again. That is Schuler, the astronomer. We didn't have much luck with it last time. It actually created a shutdown. But let's hope that the technology is more successful this time. Ooh, a day passes. 2 oxygen left. Okay. Should we... okay, we're really in trouble here. Because it's going to take us at least 1 day to go back from anywhere. But again, I mean, we have learned a lot. And we can try to go back, but I also feel just this sense that we're driven forward by something. And ever since we were enveloped in that white blinding light, I haven't worried so much. So I think we're just going to keep at it. We could shift to radio, but let's do one more infrared. Let's hope that we can get it done. Oh, no. 1 oxygen left, guys. Should we just turn on the radio? This is going to be the last distress call from the Discovery, the Damocles Mission, sending out a distress signal from the last room. Can we do it? It's a double. As our last oxygen is expended, we get 1 last radio signal through. Let's see what we discover. Nothing is heard on the radio. No information is available. This is the end of the Damocles mission. We send out a distress signal, but we got no answer. We don't know if it was able to penetrate the artifact. Maybe this radio signal is floating out there in space, waiting to be picked up by us or by someone else. At this point, we're not even sure what is outside the artifact anymore. Is the Discovery even still outside the artifact? Are we still on the same plane of existence? as we start to run out of oxygen in this chamber, we realize that we have become isolated from the rest of the artifact. It feels as if there was a test and we failed it. But it also feels like we were touched by something higher, and that there is yet hope for mankind, how frail it may be. But we need to hear the universe speaking to us. And until we learn to listen to the universe, we will not get the message, and we will continue to run out of oxygen in dark corridors. Thank you so much, everybody, for hanging out with me here and playing the Damocles Mission. Swordvende has a very appropriate no! And Laura says, some dimension the signal will reach its destination. And the Known Dark Senate says, hey, Hopeless Dream, what's up? I'm curious, do you play D&D? No, the Known Dark Senate, we just completed our playthrough of the Damocles Mission, an old Ares magazine hard sci-fi game from 1983. So you are arriving right at the very end, I'm afraid. But you can, of course, go back and check out the full playthrough. So this was such a wonderful experience. I mean, I knew that this game was gonna be enigmatic, but I didn't know that it was gonna be as enigmatic as this. I mean, literally, I have no clue what's going on here. I have bits and pieces of story, and I do feel like we are somehow, we're somehow investigating something about ourselves and our relation to the universe. I feel like some teacher or something has arrived, and that we are being judged, perhaps. As I said, and as the game is called, the artifact hangs over Earth like this Damocles sword. Just, you know, it can fall at any moment, and perhaps if we fail to solve this puzzle, it will fall, but it's really up to us. Swordvender says, I was surprised that it was a puzzle game. Maybe. Yeah. And I think there is, I mean, clearly it's a puzzle. I have no idea what a solution would look like. There are hundreds of paragraphs, so we only scratch the surface of this game. And it's also clear that this is a game that actually asks you to revisit it and to send in multiple missions, and each mission will discover perhaps a little more and a little more. And at some point, you might reach that state where you can unlock some kind of solution to this puzzle. The only thing that I know we can manipulate for sure is whether these different chambers are turned on and off. And as we already saw in some of the paragraphs, this is a condition which sometimes opens up new paragraphs. So it seems that a key part of this puzzle is to activate different rooms in different parts of the ship to unlock information that will drive us to some sort of answer. How concrete that answer is, I really have no idea. But I do understand that there are places you can go to in this game that does give you some kind of solution, whatever that means. I am once again just astounded at how completely, if not fresh, then at least innovative and bold this game design is. I mean, this is a game that comes in this like tiny little magazine in 1983, and it wants to convey some kind of deep sci-fi spiritual message about the state of the universe through cardboard and puzzles. And it demands so much patience from the player, because it just completely, it hints at stuff without really following up on it, without giving us a chance to fully unlock the meaning behind all these rooms. So yeah, we're looking at a puzzle game where we don't even know what the puzzle is about. We're not even there yet. So there is a lot more to discover in this game. And, you know, I sometimes think when we play these paragraph games that people may think that we are spoiling the game. But really, I don't think we're spoiling anything here. If anything, I think we're just like whetting your appetite to go in, play this game, and find out for yourself what is actually going on here. Because there is answers buried in this game. I haven't found it. Sword Vendor says, gotta do another playthrough someday. Yeah, absolutely. This is a game that really sort of demands more playthroughs and more discoveries. So yeah, I don't know what more to say, because that's how it ended. We stranded in the middle of this artifact, having failed our mission, but having been perhaps touched by the divine, perhaps having been in contact with extraterrestrial creatures, perhaps having communicated with our own past, perhaps having projected our inner lives onto this artifact. We have no idea. This is as enigmatic a sci-fi game as I've ever witnessed. I think it's completely unique in the history of board gaming, and that it is shamefully overlooked. Laura Ray says, so much suspense, you don't know what's actually going on. It's quite amazing how it succeeds in that. And of course, no publisher today would dare put out a game that kept the players so much in the dark for such a long time. Actually, even asking the players to, you got to play this game again if you want to find out anything about what's going on. Like the first playthrough, oh, that's just you learning some basic mechanics, some basic info, and then it starts. And then also, I must say, I love this mechanic of corridors closing behind you. That moment in the game when we were completely isolated in this pitch black room was just so tense and atmospheric. It was just such a moment. It was so cinematic. And then we come out on the other side, enter into a new section of the ship. And at that point, I think we were just lost. We tried searching for a way back, and it was just not happening. We were running out of oxygen. I could have insisted and just kept on trying to find that connection to go out. But I actually do think that the story here is that the first mission stranded in the artifact, no one ever returned to the Discovery shuttle, and later another shuttle was sent up to find out what happened to the first mission. And this may be a repeating pattern, and maybe I should play that second part of the story where the second mission comes up and tries to find out what happened to the first mission. And let's not forget that we do have a comatose astronaut, and who knows, we ran out of oxygen, but the artifact seems to be a pretty powerful thing. So I guess maybe it could just, put oxygen into one of the rooms and make us live. Is there a moment where we take off our helmets and we can just breathe? I don't know. But as I said before, it didn't seem particularly hostile, though it did seem somewhat judgmental over our actions. With that said, everybody, I'm gonna bid you a good Sunday night. Thank you so much for watching and following along here on the Hopeless stream. There isn't much left to say except for our usual little spiel. So here it comes. Stop winning, start losing, and by God, stay hopeless.